YouTube. So the big story going around BuzzFeed and Gawker and, I don't know, like CNN or something, is that Russia is seriously cracking down on their LGBT community. It started with a law banning discussion of alternative lifestyles in the media where it could possibly be seen by children. But now it's turned into like raiding the homes of homosexual people and beating them in the streets. I've even seen some reports of that. Putin is heading this crackdown because I guess it endears him to his conservative base. But you know what, dude? Not cool. Unfortunately, Russia has a long history of wiping their homosexual community off the record. One of Russia's most famous composers was gay, and they did everything possible to keep that from getting out. Pyotr Ilych Tchaikovsky was probably one of the most mainstream composers to come out of Russia in the 19th century. He wrote two of the most popularly performed ballets of all time, the Nutcracker and Swan Lake. That's right, guys, no Black Swan without Tchaikovsky. He also wrote an opera called Evgeny Onegin, or in English Eugene Onegin, and it is currently being performed at the Metropolitan Opera. Kind of a big deal. Performing in this opera are two of Russia's shining operatic stars, Anna Netrebko and Pyotr Ilych. It seems weird that Putin would let such superstars of Russian culture perform in an opera written by a gay Russian composer. Seems a bit like LGBT in the media to me. Maybe. But back to Tchaikovsky himself. He grew up at a time that was actually much less stifling of homosexuality than you might imagine. At the time, if you kept it private, it was pretty much your business. But let me tell you, Tchaikovsky had some serious business. He lived his entire younger life as a bachelor, only getting married at the age of like 37, and at that really only for 2 months because, let's face it, he wasn't really into women. During this time, he surrounded himself with friends in the artistic community that were very, very much out as being homosexual. But is that, in and of itself, enough to prove that he was gay? Conjecture, perhaps. But don't worry, there's more proof. His brother Modest wrote an autobiography, and in it he details Pyotr's sexual preferences. He didn't feel too weird about his brother being gay because, guess what? Modest was gay too! Yay for gay brotherhood! I think. Because the two of them shared such a huge secret at a time when it wasn't really that cool to be gay, they became very, very close. Modest was actually much more open about his sexual orientation than Pyotr, and he had a very well-known relationship with a hottie named Nikolai. Still not enough evidence? I guess Modest could be making up Pyotr's sexual preferences in order to validate his own homosexuality, right? Wrong. We get evidence straight from the source. Pyotr wrote many diaries and letters that contain direct references to his homosexuality. A lot of this evidence come from letters that he wrote to his lover, who also happened to be his nephew. The two were very much in love, and Tchaikovsky even dedicated his Symphonie Pathétique to him. Aww. So, he's gay. So what? Well, it was all in good during his lifetime. Sure, he met some resistance from his colleagues, but otherwise, he surrounded himself by a very loving and accepting friends and family. But this, of course, was the time of the Tsars. What came next, and luckily after Tchaikovsky died, was the Soviet Union. Now, the Soviet Union did not look kindly upon homosexuality, and they didn't want for the one composer that Western culture really knew from Russia to be gay. So they decided to suppress his letters and diaries that talk about him being gay in an effort to keep that information from trickling out from behind the Iron Curtain. But trickle out it did, and musicologists and biographers were desperately looking to get their hands on this stuff. They got a little bit of the information, but it wasn't really until the Soviet Union dissolved that all of these suppressed documents came to light for the first time. And two, after the end of the Soviet Union, Russia seemed to be much more accepting of homosexuals. In 1993, they decriminalized homosexuality, so yay, you can't go to jail for being gay. Until we get to now with Putin. Oh, Putin, you devil. Thank goodness Tchaikovsky isn't around today to see what Russia is doing to its LGBT citizens. I think he would be very put out. Well, I hope you liked this video and that you might have learned something new about Pyotr Ilych Tchaikovsky's life and lifestyle. We've been listening to excerpts from the Nutcracker, and if you hadn't recognized any of those pieces, then you must not have grown up going to your local ballet studio's performance to, poorly recorded or even MIDI file versions of this piece. Consider yourself lucky. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe below, and be sure to check out the Facebook and Twitter accounts associated with this channel. Until next week, до свидания! Musicology.